Big news from the Attorney General today. Despite Democrat claims of a cover-up, Bill Barr is now saying that the full report will be released in just weeks. Are leggings appropriate in church? What to name the royal baby? And a fight over who is the world's tallest politician? Really? Okay, yes. On Friday Follies ahead. But we begin tonight with the mad media rush to find the elusive next scandal. Yes, the week began on kind of a somber note for our friends in the press. They had to deliver the terrible news that the President of the United States did not conspire with a foreign government to steal an American election.
Attorney General William Barr says that the special counsel found no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia.
They found no evidence that the Russians and people with Trump and the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians.
There is an honest level of sadness and disappointment and disorientation.
Now, it looks like the dogs died or something. All of their dogs died. They're all depressed. Well, in the aftermath of a 2-year nonstop hype machine, you might think they'd take a moment and examine their errors, a little introspection, a little thinking about what went wrong, everything that caused them to overreach. Well, if you thought that, you'd be wrong. Because now they moved on to cover all the new Trump scandals. Well, the media claims that this is all about accountability, but to the rest of us, their story choices are obvious. Inflict as much pain on the president as possible, no matter how minuscule the story. Well, you don't believe me? Now take a look at some of the new scandals that they're trying to cook up after the Mueller letdown. First, here's Anderson Cooper with an alert.
Much more breaking news tonight. Up next, the president's nominee for Interior Secretary gets grilled about our report last night. Senator, the questions surrounding Bernhardt.
It gets better. Still reeling from being exposed as a tinfoil hat wearer after her Russia theories all fell flat. Rachel Maddow has a new conspiracy to unravel.
The Trump administration actually has no plan to go back to the moon. And part of the reason we know this is because Mike Pence admitted it in another awkward part of his speech. He was just going there to give them a speech, and somebody told him, hey, maybe we could do that a couple minutes before he walked onto stage. And so he hoped announcing it would make him look like JFK, maybe?
At least she didn't actually call into question the moon landing. That's good. Come on, at the end of the day, nothing ever compares to, though, your first love. What really got you going, the butterflies, the goosebumps, struggling to catch your breath. It's all such a rush. Come on, to the left, Mueller, Trump, and Russia are still the thing. They just can't quit Russia. So like clockwork, this is how they ended the week.
The report is at least 300 pages long. This story is as good as it's going to get for Donald Trump right now.
We have Mr. Barr's version of what is criminal and not. But maybe Mr. Mueller's assessment of the evidence suggests something else.
And they know there are bad things coming their way. Yeah. Mueller couldn't make a call on obstruction. That means there has to be evidence of wrongdoing that he was worried about. Yeah. That has to be true on even with Russian interference. There has to be wrongdoing.
You'd feel sorry for these folks if they hadn't done such damage to the presidency and the country. But they were exposed as frauds in their coverage of the collusion question. And now they're essentially just wish-casting conclusions in the Mueller report. So they haven't learned anything. So to believe the theories with all of them that we just played, one must hold the following, that Bill Barr, a longtime acquaintance of Robert Mueller and a George H.W. Bush Republican, twisted the conclusions to favor Trump in the report. And further, one must believe that Mueller, whose office came out to correct the media on another occasion, has chosen to sit on his hands and let Barr apparently just get away with blatant lying to the public. To answer the conspiracy theorists, we thought we'd invite some people on who actually understand how these things work. So joining me now is Saul Weisenberg, former Whitewater Deputy Independent Counsel, Fox News contributor, Guy Lewis, a former U.S. attorney who served with Attorney General Barr at the DOJ, and John Sale, former Assistant Special Watergate Prosecutor. Okay, guys, this big breaking news today was that Barr is going to release the report, I guess, latest mid-April or maybe even earlier. So, Saul, what do you make of the freakout that we saw from Democrats and some in the media that Barr was going to be, if not now, hiding something?
Well, Barr, kind of reminds me a little bit of Brer Rabbit. Throw me into that briar patch, Speaker Pelosi. Barr made it clear all along that the 4-page report or letter he wrote was just interim, that he was going to try to release as much as possible. Now, of course, he said he's going to release about 400 pages. And I believe, contrary to what the montage you played of the Democratic speakers, I believe the report is going to help President Trump, from what I've been able to divine. For example, it's going to show all of the notes and information and evidence they turned over and the witnesses they made available to Bob Mueller on the obstruction and collusion questions. So I think they are wrong across the board here.
Guy, I want to go to you. Joe Scarborough over at MSNBC was one of these people. And the reason we're playing these sound bites is because we think it's really important for the American people to know who is giving them false information, repeatedly false information or false prognostications about issues. This is what he was saying about the Mueller report. Let's watch.
They are trying to defend the indefensible. They are hiding behind Donald Trump's own Roy Cohn, William Barr. Yeah, I said it. Donald Trump's own Roy Cohn, who squeezes together a couple of sentence fragments and puts it in a letter while trying to keep from the American people the Mueller report. And they set themselves up to look like fools every single day.
Guy, you know Barr really well, without using the word fool to describe the aforementioned host of a morning show. What are your thoughts? Barr is just Roy Cohn to Trump?
Oh, my, Laura, it's almost hard for me to listen to that with a straight face. I got to tell you, this is an attorney general, former attorney general, current attorney general, who's straight as an arrow. We worked with him. I worked with him when we were trying Noriega down here in Miami. That guy, as the attorney general, was super engaged. He crossed T's. He dotted I's. He cared deeply about making sure we did things right and proper. He followed the law. He followed the facts. I mean, the guy was everything that you could want in an attorney general. And to suggest, here's what really just is hard for me to believe, to put out a straightforward, no-nonsense letter, which you read it. I'm sure you read it and others read it. It was so non-lawyer. And it came out and it said basically, look, let me quote from the Mueller report. There is no evidence of collusion. Not there is weak evidence. The evidence is questionable. Some could read it one way or another way. There is no evidence, zero evidence. Having been a prosecutor for a long time, I cannot think of a grand jury investigation that I conducted that went on for 2 years, and I concluded at the end of that investigation that there was no evidence, zero evidence.
John, I want to go to you because we're learning more about the internal struggle. Special counsel desperately wanted to get Trump in an interview. They were thinking of subpoenaing him. They wanted testimony from Trump because they couldn't get anything on obstruction. But there was a back and forth, and a former lawyer, John Dowd, for Trump, is speaking out for the first time since the end of the Mueller investigation. He spoke with Byron York in a new podcast, and he took us inside the back and forth on this deal with trying to interview the president.
I mean, he said, well, John, I need to know what was in the president's head. I said, you already do. You do in real time.
In other words, what you're worried about, he did it on camera. Like, it's like you're not. What are you worried about? Like, so they were never going to get Trump to be interviewed.
Laura, I was on your show last Friday night, and I said, why isn't the president entitled to the presumption of innocence? I recognize it's not a court of law, but 36 hours later, we get, as Guy referred to, no collusion. regarding a statement from the president, let me say something, and I would ask Guy to confirm this. When somebody's conduct is being looked at, whether you want to call them a subject, whatever the lawyer's terminology is, prosecutors conduct every single day thorough investigations. They leave no stone unturned, and they conclude their investigation one way or the other. They indict or they don't indict without a statement from the person they're investigating. You know, Rudy Giuliani, I'll disclose he's my friend, but he said on one show a few months ago, although the president said he had no problem giving them a statement, it would be over Rudy's dead body. Well, Rudy did a heck of a better job, and so did Jay Sekulow, than a lot of the critics who've been very, very brutal to them. They didn't need a statement. They gather evidence of intent, corrupt intent, through surrounding circumstances. They never get the statement of a subject. So this is all just a red herring.
Yeah,
and it's just part of the...
Yeah, that's back, but I think it's fascinating. Dowd also recalled what he had told the special counsel's office when, I guess, Mueller's team threatened, and I'll have Saul go on this, threatened to subpoena Trump. Let's listen.
He said, well, go ahead. I want to hear what you tell the court as your basis to do it when you don't have a crime. You've just told me that this guy doesn't have any exposure, okay? And so what are you going to tell a U.S. District Judge? Because we're going to move to quash this thing. And Jay Sekulow and his team were ready to do it. I mean, tremendous constitutional lawyers. We're ready to do it. We want to do it. So he dropped it. Then he backed off. He said, oh, don't get upset.
So, Saul, you've been on the other side of this. Did the president's team not play this brilliantly? It seems like they did to me. They said, go ahead, and they balked in the special counsel's office.
Well, they knew the law, and as you recall, I was on your show several times back during this period, and I said if I were advising the president, I would not have him go in and talk to Bob Mueller. And I also discussed the Espy case, which is the controlling law in the D.C. Circuit, which Dowd discussed, which said you can't just come in and subpoena the president. You've got to make a predicate showing. And one thing that Dowd reveals, which is very important in that interview with Byron, is that part of the Espy test is you've first got to show there's a serious crime.
Right.
And Mueller had just come in and said, at least with respect to the president, he's a witness. There is no crime. And I thought that there was a real chance that he would lose Mueller if he took it to court, and it would certainly take a lot of time. So I think it was exactly the right strategy. And if I could point something else out, it's not just Dowd made an earlier statement that they gave them a lot of evidence. They gave them hundreds of pages of contemporaneous notes from Don McGahn to, I forget the lady's name, I think Annie Donaldson. They gave contemporaneous notes of the president and Donald McGahn discussing the case. They handed all of that over to Mueller. That's very strong evidence of intent. I would rather have contemporaneous notes of what the president said than what he's thinking about a year later.
Bingo. Oh, I'm so glad you raised that, Saul. Thank you so much, panel. All of you, fantastic as always. And now the refrain from the media and the Democrats about the crisis at our border has been eerily consistent the past few weeks.
There is no crisis at the border.
Illegal immigration is at historical lows. There is no crisis at the border.
Where's the crisis at the border?
Yeah, it's preposterous, frankly, Chuck. I mean, that's the first question that the president is going to have to answer. Where is the emergency?
Oh, my God. The level of idiocy it's dangerous. Let's hear now from the Customs and Border Patrol Commissioner instead. Because of overcrowding. Joining me now, Tom Homan, former acting director of ICE and current Fox News contributor. Tom, you and I have been hitting this issue for how long now? I mean, it's so upsetting on so many levels. It is a derogation of duty on the part of Congress. President is trying to raise the alarm here, but Congress refuses to change the law.
No, and I want to make one thing clear. You know, the Border Patrol are releasing immigrants straight from the border, but we got to remember something. The men and women of the Border Patrol, they don't want to release these people. These people violated the laws of this country, entered the country illegally, which is a crime. They want to hold them to see a judge. But the Ninth Circuit's tied their hands on that. The Democrats refuse to even accept this as a national crisis. So the Border Patrol's in a really tough spot. This is a morale killer, and the men and women down there are doing the best job they can under very difficult circumstances.
And they only have like 3,000 beds for apparently family units, and I think they took in 40,000 over the last what was it, just month, 2 months?
Yeah, you know, I read some news articles last week when I was in San Antonio. Some of the Democrat leadership was saying the Trump administration is making this crisis worse than it really is to try to raise awareness. And I said, all they got to do is simple math. 14,000 family units come in. There's 3,000 beds. Do the math. So most of them are being released. And the Democrats keep saying that the administration isn't prepared for us. They're not stepping up their efforts. Well, they refuse to fund ICE the number of beds. They also refuse to give Border Patrol one business book crossings.
Tom Homan, we really appreciate your clarity on this for as long as you've been on the show, and you predicted this sadly. Hate crime hoaxer Jussie Smollett boarded a plane from Chicago to L.A., where he's going to be showered with praise at the NAACP Awards. Is this a bad look for the group? Donna Brazile in L.A. for those awards. She joins us next. And a big announcement ahead. You don't want to miss this one. Stay there.
A laughingstock out of the cities, out of the police officers.
The vice president of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police sounding off there on the decision this week by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office to unexpectedly drop all charges against Jussie Smollett in that hate crime hoax. But tonight, we've learned that Jussie may still get his day in court. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel is demanding that the actor pay the city $130,000 to recoup the costs of that fraudulent investigation. And TMZ reporting that Smollett's team says they will not comply, setting up a showdown in civil court. Joining me now is Fox 32 anchor and reporter Rafer Weigel. Now, he's been on this story from the very beginning. Rafer, from what you're hearing, is there any chance that Chicago cops and the mayor let this case go?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, this is, right now, you got to look at the theater that Rahm Emanuel is getting out of this. I mean, I understand that he's upset with Kim Foxx, but, you know, there's a lot of people right now looking at Rahm with a bit of a side eye because he's really raised his profile right now by beating the drum against so polarized both politically, racially, captured the attention of the entire world, and somehow it got hijacked into a discussion about corruption. Only in the city of Chicago would that happen.
Well, $130,000 is a lot of money to most people. It's a huge amount of money. But to a guy who makes an enormous amount of money in the entertainment industry, it's really, to him, not that much in the scheme of things. I'm kind of wondering why he wouldn't just write the check and say...
Because that would be an admission of guilt, and I think that right now it's just a lot of posturing and a lot of ego right now. Jussie Smollett feels that he won, and let's be honest, he did win. As the fraternal order, the gentleman who you had on earlier, I heard him speaking, you know, Kim Foxx did not just drop the charges. She essentially tried to make this case go away. She sealed the court order, and then the other day they tried to expunge the record and erase it completely. And the only reason that I'm told that that didn't happen is because in order to do that, they would have to unseal the case record, meaning reporters like myself and our Freedom of Information Act request would then be granted and everybody would see the evidence that police had on Smollett, and they didn't want that. So that's why that's not happening.
Now, Rafer, I know there's a protest planned. The police union put out the posting, I think, last night, and we put it up on our show, 11 a.m. on Monday against Kim Foxx for what they believe is the besmirching of the police in Chicago and just complete disrespect for the work they did and the effort they put into this, the man hours, et cetera. What do you expect to happen there?
I expect it to be a pretty big protest. I mean, the reason we're still talking about this, Laura, is because the fallout. I mean, you and I talked on Tuesday, and what we saw on Tuesday was uncharted territory. Well, now look at what happened this week with the National District Attorneys Association, the Illinois the IPBA, also slamming Kim Foxx. I mean, I don't mean slamming. I mean, they sliced and diced and just really took her to task for what she did. This woman has ruined herself politically and professionally, and right now she is political kryptonite. And now, right now, we're still trying to figure out why. We're still scratching our heads. I've talked to a couple of people who cover politics here, you know, longtime journos and people inside City Hall. And right now, the thinking is that Kim Foxx may have compromised herself in some way so badly that she had to make this case go away. So whatever it is that she didn't want coming out was actually worse than the outcome that happened to her now, and it's hard to imagine there being anything worse than that. That's why I don't think we've heard the last of this. This is an investigation into corruption, or potential corruption, I should say.
It is. It seems like it's changing by the day. And Rafer, thanks, contributor Donna Brazil. Donna, it's great to have you on. Now, you're also in L.A. for the awards, so should Jussie still be nominated?
Hey, look. Hey, first of all, I got you this shirt, Laura, so I hope to bring it back to you next week.
All right,
and by the way, I paid for this with my... Absolutely. Look, first of all, everybody's excited to be here at the NAACP Image Award. This is the 50th anniversary. I'm excited to be here. My colleagues and I...
The country would be there'd be protests everywhere that this guy needs to get the book thrown at him, and I'd be leading the protests, because anyone who fakes a hate crime does a real disservice to those who are truly the victims of hate crimes, let alone what happens to the police and everybody else. So if the shoe was on the other foot here, they'd be going crazy on all fronts. That's the deal.
Mercury's in retrograde. Now, here you're about to see Donna and her fools.
Donna, wait a minute.
Mercury's in retrograde. We have Michael Avenatti, the Mueller report now is Jussie Smollett. I can't wait for this weekend to be over.
Donna, I bet you can't. Okay, but Donna, are you actually telling me that you believe what Jussie's lawyer went on TV in front of the cameras, and I don't know what she was on The View or something, she was on The View, but she goes on and says, well, we saw a video once of them in whiteface. So because there was a video online at one point of them in whiteface, which I've never seen, then she just magically
and we have not heard about that. So absolutely, this is one of those moments. Now you remember, Laura, I know both you and I about almost the same age. I think you're a few months younger. But 24 years ago, OJ.
But okay.
Well, you know, who's counting today? Who's counting, okay? I'm going to try to look good on that red carpet, because after all, I have to pretend to be, I am going to be a foxy woman. But look, 24 years ago, Laura, if you recall, OJ got away with, quote unquote, he got away from a jury trial. If this is due process, we need to hear about the process. I want to know more. I am baffled.
The mayor and the police chief don't think it's due process, and nor do most police or prosecutors I've talked to across the country. But Donna, you have fun at the NAACP Awards. I want a full report next week, and I want that T-shirt. I want it signed by Spike Lee. He knows me. His wife went to law school with me. Has signed that for me by Spike. Tell him I said hi, okay?
Hey, by the way, they come in black and white. I bought you black because I know you.
All right, God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. All right,
God bless you too, boo.
All right, a really funny Friday, Follies. Start placing your bets. We have some news on the royal baby name. Plus, is it time for women to lose the leggings? A college mom thinks so, and things get ugly on campus. That and a lot more with Raymond Arroyo next. Oh, our picks for the royal baby name and a brand new scandal, the world's tallest politician. Joining me now with all the details, Raymond Arroyo, Fox News contributor, New York Times bestselling author of the brand new book, Will Wilder, The Amulet of Power. All right, Raymond, what's the big fuss about girls wearing leggings and a mom upset at Notre Dame?
At the University of Notre Dame. Well, a mother of one of the students at Notre Dame wrote a letter to the editor of the university newspaper, and in it, she suggested that young women should rethink wearing leggings, particularly at Mass. She says leggings on women are an unforgiving garment, and asks, I wonder why no one thinks it strange that the fashion industry has caused women to voluntarily expose their nether regions in this way. Now, Laura, there was a fierce reaction on campus.
They were hating on her big time.
Yeah, I mean, they said, wait, you're trying to tell us what we can and can't wear. No, she said you have a choice and you should make the right choice and rethink this. Well, they had what they call a Leggings Pride Day organized by a group that has no recognition by the university.
Isn't that special?
And it exploded. But my question is, you know, most people don't look good in leggings. I don't care who you are.
It's a tough look to pull off.
And I'll say that for men in biker shorts as well. I mean, most people look like mashed potatoes shoved in a hefty bag. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well.
And it's just not.
Yourself, Arroyo.
Well, it's not an attractive look. And as the woman said, when you see every crevice and every shape,
even men, by the way, Conan O'Brien found that out.
Yes,
right?
he did.
But I have to say, why isn't that mom able to express her truth?
Right.
Everyone said, this is my truth, and this is my choice. And, okay. But it's a mother's right to say, you know something, I have 2 teenage sons. We don't need to be looking at your midriff and every crevice in your behind. Yeah. As beautiful as you are.
And there's one thing, if you have a long sweater or something, that's okay.
But if you're at the gym, whatever, working out, that's fine.
Yeah.
But since when does gym clothing...
Oh, no, yoga pants have become a fashion choice.
Banish the term athleisure wear, okay? Athleisure. No,
okay,
it's just sloppy.
Wait, I can top this.
All right.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back to the mall, a fashion house called 41 Project has just unveiled what they call janties. Jean panties. These are denim panties. Now, you know, in the French, they would call this des longues chafing, because why would you put that on? I don't know who would want to wear this.
Now, but the description says you can wear it
the description
under or over
I don't understand this at all.
Now, do you wear that over
I wouldn't wear it at all. This is uncomfortable.
The best is when you get these brand companies like Lululemon charging like $100 for like spandex. Like, wait a second.
Okay, in England, Laura, bookmakers are all aflutter over the name of the new royal baby to be, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's child. Watch.
The top of the betting here is Diana, 10-1, red-hot favourite, no great surprises there. Then have a look at Arthur here. That is without doubt the best backed of all the boys' names.
Now, Laura, Markle has said they plan on raising their child as gender neutral. So given that, we've come up with our own list of gender neutral royal names.
Okay.
Pat, Avery, Dana, Drew, Lane, Lee, Alex, Andy, Carson, Charlie, or Rowan.
How about well, since when is Drew? Oh, Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore, Drew whoever.
Picture. No, but in these cases, I think actually you have to move beyond any name to just numbers now.
Oh, okay.
A number or chair or, you know.
You have a story that you found this week.
Speaking of gender neutrality, the first genderless voice premiered this week. It's attempting to replace those gender-specific voices. They're very limiting for Siri and Alexa.
Hi, I'm Q, the world's first genderless voice assistant. Think of me like Siri or Alexa, but neither male nor female.
Oh, no, we got to play more of that.
Well, they claim...
It looks like a fried egg.
They claim that voices like Siri or Alexa are reinforcing binary gender choices, and this alternative would break that stereotype in AI.
You know what that reminded me of? It reminded me of the voice in that old Matthew Broderick movie, The War Games, remember?
Nobody saw that movie.
Yes, they did. It was huge.
Okay, we got to go to this. Guinness Book of World Records named Robert Carnegie, a 6'10" councilman from Brooklyn, as the world's tallest politician.
We're here to bring honor to someone who has brought politics to new heights.
The whole process took 2 years, and as a man over 50, I thought osteoporosis would set in and I would certainly lose the record.
Well, a fight's already broken out, Laura, with other Pauls claiming they're actually taller than Carnegie, and they deserve the title. People like North Dakota's insurance commissioner, John Gottfried, he's 6'11". Then there's the mayor of Warrensville Heights, Ohio, Brad Sellers. He claims to be 7 feet and an international contender. Yao Ming is a delegate to China's National People's Congress. He's 7 feet 6 inches. He may well be the tallest politician in the world, Laura.
I always think of coach seating for them. I always think of that.
Why are they fighting over this? Anyway.
Because of course they do.
Have a great week.
We'll send your family some of the janties.
Janties. I'll put them over my leggings.
Yes,
Thank
exactly.
You.
I'll pay for that photo. All right, coming up, the worst media offenders of the week. The Ingraham angle. He's a senior editor at The Federalist. And Brian Russell, TV host and media critic. All right, panel, let's begin with the obvious. The Trump-Russia collusion hoax. Now, not only did the big media fail completely this week, but some say it's as bad as it was with WMD and the Iraq reporting. Amazingly, the week began with the media defending themselves. Let's watch.
What would you have had the media do over the past 2 years when Donald Trump lied throughout the 2016 campaign about his contacts with Russia?
That's what hundreds of journalists have been doing, trying to solve pieces of this Trump-Russia puzzle. Speculation actually has value, too. It helps open our eyes, helps open our minds to what's possible.
The media, the press has done one of the great reporting jobs in the history.
But by the end of the week, no doubt worn out from, well, the well-deserved beating they received, they took to lashing out with cheap shots.
I don't know at what point we start actually feeling sorry for him. He looks so sad and weak up there, swinging wildly.
He's just disgusting to look at. He's obese. I wish we could put out that picture of him from behind playing tennis or playing golf. He's one of the repulsive, physically looking human beings I've ever seen.
Well, David, the road to credibility isn't paved with insults, right? Yet here we are.
Well, obviously those insults are a manifestation of frustration, I think, on their part that they spent 2 years perpetuating this crazy story that didn't work out for them in any way.
No, but we're crazy now. Now the people who are actually pointing out, you were wrong, and you weren't just wrong. You accused the president basically of treason on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's not media bias. Media bias, we know how to deal with that. This is something far beyond that. They tried to overturn an election, helping the Democratic Party overturn an election.
Brian, over at CNN, they were doing the best that they could, I guess, to sort of say, well, we were doing yeoman's work, and speculation is part of journalism, or whatever it was that Stetler said. Again, if the shoe were on the other foot and Obama had been accused of treason, literally treason, wow, I can't imagine what the response with the media would have been if it was conservative media doing that.
Yeah, speculation has value. I'll engage in some speculation. I speculate that those guys are colluding with Democrats to manipulate the outcome of the 2020 election. How's that for value and speculation? And what about this fat shaming of the president? I thought fat shaming was a big no-no on the left. And if that's all they've got left, then I'd say the fat ladies sung on this whole Trump-Russia bogus scandal. The opera's over, the good guy won, and these guys ought to be shamed for fat shaming.
No. They have no shame. But let's move on from the fat shaming to physical threats against the president.
If the bully gets close, I'll punch the bully in the mouth.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Now, let's take a look at Jim Acosta's face there. Now, this is the face of a reporter for CNN smirking when the governor of Puerto Rico said he wanted to punch Trump in the face. Now, Brian, what do you think about that smug look? I mean, not that we really, thought Acosta was objective.
Whether it's Joe Biden saying that he wishes he could have taken the president out behind the schoolhouse and beaten him up in high school, or this guy saying he wants to punch the president in the mouth, every time I hear one of these guys, I ask myself, who is hearing this thinking, that's my team, that's the team I want to root for? Well, now I know at least one person, Jim Acosta, the objective journalist, Jim Acosta. He probably has bobbleheads of these guys in his office.
Oh, yeah. Well, David, they do seem to be grasping for a new Russian collusion, something to jump. Okay, it's got to be the inauguration, or it's Puerto Rico, or and it's like throwing spaghetti against the wall. It always slides down.
Well, first thing, if anyone had said that about Hillary Clinton or Obama, we'd have a national discussion about violence. But secondly, yeah, you're right. That's why they're clamoring to see the report. They can't wait to latch on to some redacted part or some sentence to pretend that they were right the whole time. You can't spend 2 years doing this and simply say, oh, we were wrong, and move on. It's obvious that they're going to have to, they're all in, and there's no way out.
Finally, the MSNBC spin on the Smollett shocker this week.
Here you have a police department that is known for lying and covering up, and yet they were outraged at the fact that Jussie Smollett may have lied and may have covered something up. So the irony was there.
Brian, so it's the police department who did all this investigation for like 1,000 hours. I guess it's their fault here.
As the son of a cop.
This is the same thing with Trump and Russia. It's that there's a media that wants to believe things and does. They don't show enough skepticism, at the very least, even if you give them the benefit of the doubt.
All right, David, Brian, thank you so much. Great to see you today. And coming up, I have an exciting announcement for you. Now, you don't want to miss this. Stay right there.